Hear me?
Yes.
Good. Let's see here. Oh, gosh. Becky. Hi, Becky.
Hey, George.
Um, Looks like we're still short a person or two. Zuby said he would be a little late.
Okay.
So,
I haven't heard anyone won't be here.
okay. Hmm. Okay. So our other board members must be out climbing mountains or something.
Which board members would that be, George?
Well, it could be Linda and
Yeah.
Linda and Pierre. And I'll bet all of you are just, you are so dedicated to be here today rather than out climbing mountains, which I'm sure on this gorgeous day would be a lovely thing to do. Then, and there's Pierre. Okay, Pierre, thank you for coming down from the mountain.
You're welcome.
Okay, could I think we have a quorum, so I will call the meeting to order. Welcome. Indeed, glad everyone could join us on this gorgeous day. These fall days when you get snowflakes during the day and during the early day, and then you have the sun come out, and it is just gorgeous out there. Okay, could I have a motion, please, to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded, and all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, motion is approved. So could we now have public comments? Audrey?
We do have one public. Kate? Public comment.
Hi, Kate.
Hi there. How's everyone doing today?
Good.
Okay, let me start with my comment. I'm glad I signed on rather early. So let's see here. I just wanted to jump on the meeting briefly as a faculty member to talk a little bit about communication for 3 minutes or less. Frequently, faculty Senate agenda items focus on folks' concerns about communications processes here on campus. Particularly lately, faculty haven't felt wholly informed of key decisions impacting our students, our advising and placement procedures, and the content of our curriculum. This semester, we've also heard from numerous adjuncts who haven't received timely payment for work completed during the first half of the semester and haven't received adequate communication about it either. This puts folks in a vulnerable, even desperate situation, uncompensated, while their efforts to support college initiatives and strategic planning goals continue. Responses from HR as well this semester take weeks or more to receive and require multiple follow-ups. Curricular decisions about, for example, removing English 109 as a prerequisite for a sweeping number of courses have left faculty confused and disempowered. A frequent topic of discussion at the monthly chairs and directors meeting is, why are so many faculty leaving? Folks are getting new jobs and seeking out new opportunities at record rates, and I suspect compromised communication is fueling the departure fire. When decisions are made without us or important information isn't communicated effectively or respectfully, people face uncertainty, disempowerment, and doubt. I'm eager to see how and collaborate with the board, along with college stakeholders, to approach this chronic problem of maligned communication efforts, which I believe are impacting our students, our faculty, and ultimately our community for the worse. Thank you for listening. That's my public comment.
Thank you very much, Kate. And obviously, those are all issues of concern for everyone at the college. And President Rowley will follow up with you on those issues to explore and resolve them. Thanks again, Kate. Okay, now we need a motion to go into closed session. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Oh, Zuby, good, you're here. Okay, so we will now go into closed session. Thank you very much. It'll take us all 2 minutes to log on.
Oh, we need a roll call, George, for Chair
Oh.
Gamble.
Okay, roll call.
Chair Gamble,
I'm hoping she'll be here soon.
Okay. So now we can go to our closed session.
Hello, can you hear
Hello.
me? Hey, Jody.
Hello.
uh,
All right, thanks.
Can you hear me?
Yes, George.
Good. Okay. Is Lynn here? Not yet.
George, you're still logged on to the regular.
Okay, I think we are ready to go back into a regular meeting session. Thank you all very much for waiting. My computer seems to be very slow and moving. I don't know if that's because it's several years old and it needs updating. But with that, I need a motion to indicate that we only discussed what was scheduled to be discussed in the closed meeting session and to approve a motion to resume our open meeting session. So if I could have that motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we need a roll call to come back?
Aye.
in?
I don't know. Do we,
Yes.
Audrey, do we need a roll call for this? Okay, C does not appear to be on at the moment. So we have sufficient motion to proceed. Thank you very much. So resuming our regular meeting, we can now ask President Rowley for her report and presentations. President Rowley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to start out with the September Employees of the Month Awards, beginning with the Pass It Forward Award, which goes to Emily McCarthy, who is an academic advisor for the School of Business, Professional Studies, and Education. And she was nominated by Bernadette Gonzalez, who is the registrar. Bernadette writes that Emily is a great asset to the Department of Student Success. I really appreciate all the hard work that she does behind the scenes with her advising duties. This past spring, Emily offered to help me with whatever needed to be done in the registrar's office. So I took her offer and asked her to assist me with evaluating the final petition to graduate. So you can see that Emily is indeed an outstanding employee at Santa Fe Community College and has been for a number of years. And so this is a well-deserved award. And for the WOW-gram, Roberta Suzette Pineda from Kids Campus was nominated by Catherine Allred, who is the director for the Early Childhood Center of Excellence. And Catherine writes that I am grateful for all of Suzette's work, the support that she has offered to me, to our teachers, children, and their families should not go unrecognized. Suzette joined Kids Campus 10 months ago and has evolved tremendously in this role ever since. She is known to many of us for reliability and cheerful attitude. So congratulations also to Suzette. I want to congratulate both of these women and to thank them for all that they do for Santa Fe Community College. Okay, on to the regular report. I want to begin with a little bit of an update on the Chess Collaborative. And I'm going to ask Corey Bergen to step in for me when we get to the details because she just should. Believe me, from everything that I have been told, and I'm just going to say this at a very high level, Santa Fe Community College has completed all of the testing for payroll, not only on time, but ahead of everyone else and with an extremely high degree of accuracy. So I am so proud of everybody on this team and the work that they've done because I'm pretty sure it's about killed them. But they've really made us look good. And so we are on target and on budget at this point. So Corey, I'm going to ask you to give a little bit more detailed update than what I can do.
Sure, sounds good. Thank you. So as Becky mentioned, or President Relly mentioned, payroll parallel testing is complete, and we should congratulate the team. It was a really real group effort. We also completed our user readiness review. This was a review of our training documentation. So we got a bunch of people together in a room. We actually were in person, and they reviewed all of those documents, and that was a really successful exercise. We also have about 97 integrations that are being built. 60 of those are completed and signed off. 35 are in end-to-end testing. So we're still testing and confirming that they're working properly and fixing things. And 2 are still in the process of being built. We also have built 161 reports. 120 of those are completely done. 29 are still being tested, and we've got 2 in design as well. There's also go ahead.
Nope. Just,
okay.
just an exclamation. Wow.
Yes, a lot of work is being done. There's a team of people working on developing the in-person user training, and they're also developing the methods for delivering that training. So that's happening. Coming up, November 4th marks a really important date. That is the date that we begin our gold, or our, what you want it to be as perfect as possible. So that kicks off November 4th. It's scheduled to take us through December 6th. So there's a lot of work that goes on in between. All of the data has to be resubmitted, recompiled, and put back into our final build. November 4th is also critical because we're going to start to limit our transactions. It's a lot of work to add people if they've gone through the last phase of our data pull on November 4th. If we have to hire more people, we have to put them through a huge exhaustive process to get them into Banner and then also into Workday. So we're trying to limit hiring, limit a lot of financial transactions after November 4th. Obviously, if it's an emergency, we need to do it, but keeping it to those types of things. In between November 4th and December 6th, we go through that final data validation, and we do catch-up transactions. So as things happen, we have to compile them and put them into Workday. December 15th, which is coming up quickly, is our move to production. So it's sort of like a soft launch. We just do our final checks, and then December 17th is our go live date. So as you can imagine, it's a flurry of activity and lots of nerves, but lots of excitement as well. And so thank you. I appreciate it. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, how are y'all managing to do it?
Well, luckily there are a lot of very dedicated people. They're working hard. We've got people at 4 different colleges working together as a team, and we're all kind of going insane, but holding it together just enough to make it all happen. So.
Do you get any protein supplements from the college?
No, but we have been sort of offering kind of little parties here and there to keep spirits up. So
Okay.
treats. So we'll try and find a treat opportunity before go live.
Good. Thanks, Corey.
Yes, thank you, Corey. And Corey, thank you for all the work that you've been doing. Santa Fe Community College has been incredibly lucky to have Corey as our CIO during this period, because she has really been deep into this work and also really working with other CIOs in the project to really make sure that that everything goes as well as it possibly can. To add on to that, I want to mention that we are already beginning the planning for the student system, which is going to be the really kind of the guts of what our students will experience. And so that planning is starting now. The planning period for student is scheduled to take about 9 months, I think. And so Corey can, add to some of this right now too. But one of the things that the presidents who are involved in the project are working on right now, we have another strategic planning meeting scheduled sometime in November, where we will also be looking at the particular functions that we would really like to see integrated. So one of the things that we know and that we've talked about for, 3 years, that we would like to see integrated to a certain level is reporting. so that the federal reporting we do through iPads and all of the state reporting that we all have to do, that we could have a common reporting office take care of that for us. And then colleges could free up their existing IR staff to focus on the interesting things that either data requests that you all ask for us, or things that we can, we'll have more time to look at the data that helps us move the needle on various student projects and retention type projects. But right now we do spend a lot of time just doing reports that have to be done for either federal or state compliance. And smaller colleges, I don't even know how they do it, because it's pretty all consuming. So Corey, if you have anything to add to the student piece?
Sorry, finance and HR are sort of all consuming, but we are already also working on staffing. We are doing a lot of work for student already. So we're already looking at our staffing needs, our budget needs, moving into January in particular, but, you know, already looking for some talent to, you know, increase the ability of our team members to participate in the project moving forward. It'll be a little bit different because we aren't going to kick off like we did with HCM and finance and really go gangbusters right away. It'll be a little bit slower of a progress to kick off. So we've got a little time, but you know, it goes quickly. So we'll keep on that and keep going. But there's a lot of information coming up. We also, you know, we need to consider a broader group of people to participate. You know, we want to make sure we get deans and faculty involved in this part of the project. So it's a much broader and requires a lot more communication, I think, as well. So we might hopefully get a moment to breathe before we move on to that, but it's a lot of work. So, but we're already on it.
Great.
Thanks, Corey. So moving on to the student engagement and success portion, SFCC welcome new SGA officers, President Emiliano Diaz and Treasurer Yasmin Montalvo. We have...
Becky, I see they're present. Could we just have them quickly introduce themselves?
Yes, Emiliano, I see you're here.
Hi, can you see me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm here. I'm Emiliano Diaz. Happy to be here. But Jasmine is not here, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, great. Well, great to have you on board and looking forward to working with you for the next year.
Likewise.
Nice to meet you, and thank you for being here.
Yes, of course.
For the next item, Santa Fe Community College has launched a new placement initiative to better serve students effective for the spring semester. Just to kind of reiterate this process and the timing on that, I believe it was November of last year, I convened a task force and asked Yash Morimoto to chair that task force to come up with a recommendation for changing the college's placement policy to not rely so much, or the procedure really, to not rely exclusively on the AccuPlacer for placement and to look at more of a multiple measures approach. So Yash convened a committee, appointed faculty members from various departments and some advisors and other administrators. They met. I did give them a deadline for their recommendations. I wanted their recommendations by January, and I think he about killed that committee by making them meet every Friday afternoon until they got their work done, and which is partly why I chose him to be the chair. But so they got their recommendations to me. I submitted those recommendations from the committee to the faculty senate. The faculty senate reviewed those recommendations, submitted their feedback to me in writing, which I greatly appreciated. I will say there were some good procedural comments in the faculty's comments in terms of some communications to provide with students as we move into this, and it really kind of dovetails with a lot of the guided pathways work. But there were no changes to the substantive the substantive recommendations of the committee. And so what the committee suggested was that we rely on high school GPAs for placement for students who are dual credit students or students who have been recently in high school. That GPA requirement is a 2.6. That is the national standard. I have investigated this myself and checked on it upside down, and 2.6 is pretty consistently what's used, and it's the recommendation from Complete College America and a bunch of other think tanks that have been working on this particular issue. So students who have a 2.6 go immediately into the college course. Students, and this is in reading and English. I want to clarify. Math is doing something a little bit different, but they have been working on this for quite some time. If students test below that threshold, then they will take a co-requisite course along with the college level course. And so we are asking the English faculty, and they are, from what I can gather, doing an outstanding job on this, to redesign the existing developmental courses that we have, and to come up with one class that's a pretty big class that would be for students who really truly do need and will benefit from developmental education. So that would be students well under a 2.6 GPA, and they're working on that right now. So as it stands right now, what will happen when students begin registering in November, and keep in mind that it's that November registration date for the spring that drove getting this done in the time frame that we did, and getting the PSAs out and all of that. And I will also mention some significant and much needed pressure from the board and your very vocal position on this topic. So that's where that stands. There's currently a developmental class, English 109, that is listed as a prerequisite for most of our general education courses. And because students will not be being placed into that class, they will either be placed into the college class or they will be placed into a co-requisite model. That's why that class is going to go away, because no one will be placed into it. So no one's going to be signing up for that class. People only take that class because they get placed into it from the AccuPlacer right now. So those were the recommendations of the task force back in January, almost a full year ago. And they actually, my intent initially was to have this start this fall, and we couldn't quite get that done. So rather than wait till next fall, I really wanted them to get it into place for this spring. So there was an implementation team led by Dr. Jim Wysong, who got this, got the details worked out and figured out how to get the implementation up and running, so that when students start registering in November, they will have that done. Before anything else happened, we drafted what I thought was a very clear communication to everyone, really, but specifically to the faculty about the dates on all of this and moving forward, and how we were going to do it. But it is almost exactly, I think it is actually exactly the same recommendation that the task force came up with and the implementation team suggested that we're rolling forward with. One thing that I would like to add, I am currently serving on the Santa Fe Public Schools Reimagining Committee. And, we did a press release on this change as soon as we did it. And I don't think very many people really noticed those things. But when I went to the task force meeting, I spoke with Dr. Veronica Garcia, who is chairing this group for the public schools, and also the superintendent, Larry Chavez. And I have had previous conversations with them about our placement practice, and they have been urging me, well, since I got to Santa Fe for Dr. Garcia, and since Larry Chavez came into his role, to change our placement policy and to look at other measures besides just the placement score, and not adhere to the placement score exactly, and to, allow students who test within a realm, within 10 points or 20 points or something, to take college level courses. And so they were thrilled, and Dr. Garcia announced it to the whole group that we were changing our policy. I had teachers, principals tell me that they thought this was really going to change opportunities for students in public school and coming out of public school. It will change what they're able to take for dual credit. We should have many more students who are able to take general education classes for dual credit. And currently, the way that we restrict that to students who test at a certain level, they would have to take a developmental class before they could take the college level class. They can't take developmental classes as a dual credit class, and so they just don't. And we're missing, we really have been doing them a huge disservice. So the public schools are very happy with us right now. So I just kind of wanted to give you an update on, at least they're happy with us about that. I don't know about everything.
Great.
Just give you a little bit of an update on where we are with that right now, a little bit more detailed update. And I'll be happy to, I don't know if any of you have any questions about it right now, or Mr. Chair, if you'd rather I just keep going, or.
I think just keep going. Thank you.
Okay, I will keep on going. Santa Fe Community College received our annual Jean Cleary Security and Crime Statistics Report in completion. That is posted online at SFCC EDU, and I want to thank our security team for keeping us safe, and also for doing all the work of compiling, along with Bobby Mascarenas, the report. The SFCC hosted New Mexico Listens, a statewide project under the auspices of A More Perfect Union, a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities, awarded to the New Mexico Council for the Humanities. The Recruitment and Dual Credit Office partnered with the NM Dream Team and the Mexican Consulate on a scholarship Saturday workshop for high school students, including how to apply and access financial aid. Always an important topic for all of our students, but especially for our immigrant population. Short-term and late starting credit classes began on October 17th. You'll see more about our enrollment in the report in just a minute. On October 7th, the Student Affairs Officer and Campus Safety and Security Office presented Policy 2-1, the Student Code of Conduct, to the Master's Program student body. Just wanted you to know that we really do work with that high school so that they understand their role on our campus, and we have a very nice reciprocal relationship there. On October 10th, Santa Fe Community College recognized Indigenous Peoples Day with a message from the President's Diversity Advisory Council by posting our land acknowledgement statement. And I do want to mention on the land acknowledgement statement, NMICC hosted a conference a couple of weeks ago, and we posted that land acknowledgement statement at the beginning of our conference agenda. And I had a number of people thank me for the work that Santa Fe Community College has done in creating a land acknowledgement statement, and also just for the beauty of our statement. So I really want to acknowledge the team that created that, because it really is outstanding. On October the 31st, the Student Engagement Office will host a Halloween for the college community. The event will include Kids Campus Parade, office decorations, and a costume contest. So I would say this is another one of our attempts to rejoin the world again and return to some semblance of normalcy. On November 8th, credit class registration begins for spring 2023. Under faculty and staff, academic advisor Jonathan Harrell and director of student engagement and recruitment Marcos Maez performed together in a staged reading of the epic poem Astonishing Light Conversations I Never Had with a Patrocinio Varela by New Mexico writer Tony Mares. Apparently it was a great performance. I'm really sorry that I missed it, but the reviews were certainly good. Photography instructor Will Wilson is featured in the exhibition Southwest Reflections in Between Shadows and the Land at the Millicent Rogers Museum in Taos. Longstanding adjunct faculty member and continuing ed instructor Lauren Camp has been named New Mexico's second poet laureate. Her term is for 3 years, and she's published 5 poetry collections. And the Office of Human Resources coordinated the Professional Development Day last Friday. We gathered at the HEC and then also had the opportunity for folks who wanted to participate online. But we had a day-long training that focused on mental health issues and how to help our students, how to help ourselves, and more information about the resources that are available. So I want to thank the HR team once again under the leadership of Jane Euster for their great work in providing that for us. Under local bonds, I just want to mention the state energy performance contract. We've had some activity there that I'm really both happy and relieved to be able to report. It's been almost 2 years since Siemens and SFCC submitted the microgrid interconnection application, and we have really had a hard time getting any traction on that. But working closely with P&M, within a couple of weeks, we were able to get the interconnection agreement. It's going to be finalized within the next couple of weeks. And I really want to thank Nick Tejas for all of his persistence on this. And then also to thank Linda Siegel and Dan Najjar, who helped us make some better inroads with P&M and really get this going. So this is a really important step, a critical step, I would say, in our microgrid project. And then I will note that work is supposed to begin on December 12th for the woodworking dust collection system. So I've intentionally not said anything about that for a while. Hopefully I didn't jinx anything by saying that. I want to mention the statewide GO bond obligation that is upcoming. Normally we are bond C, but the higher education bond on this ballot is bond 3. So please remember that, tell everybody you know. There's been quite a bit of publicity out, a lot of radio coverage, banners around town and things like that. Santa Fe Community College has $2 million on this bond that will be used for HVAC improvements, partly, improved ventilation and replacing our aged systems. So again, this is critical for us to get that money. Santa Fe typically passes this bond at a fairly high level. We never take any of this for granted, and it does have to pass statewide. And there are some communities around the state that have a little bit more trouble getting this to pass. And then there will also be bond 2, which will benefit the Santa Fe Community College Library. All public and academic libraries will receive money from this. They have a very equitable formula that they use to distribute the funds. So please remember that bond too. And as we've indicated there, you can vote early and in person through November 5th. And then election day is November the 8th. Just a couple of things I want to mention about the conference that NMICC had a week ago. I guess it was a week ago last Monday. We partnered with really with NMACC and had a community college conference on non-credit training. We invited a lot of legislators. We focused on presenting to legislators, also to HED, Department of Workforce Solutions, and other stakeholders in the state, the value of non-credit training. And we had guests from Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, and Virginia, who also presented on some of the creative projects that their states are doing and how non-credit training is funded in their state, so that our LFC especially will have some examples to look to in hopefully considering some changes to our funding formula as we roll forward. Obviously, we don't expect anything to happen in this legislative session. Other than that, there are some additional requests for just direct funding for non-credit training. What LFC has mentioned, I'll tell you the little bit that I know about what they're likely to propose going forward. They will propose some sort of compensation increase. I don't know what it is. There were no numbers discussed, but it will be something. And I'm assuming that it will be at least in the medium range and not, like one of those really tiny ones, like 1.5%. But we'll see what they come up with. And then they are having conversations and they're watching very carefully what the state of Texas is doing, which might sound like a very alarming thing. But what they're looking at is Texas's proposed change to its funding formula to be a fully performance-based formula. So that would mean that they don't necessarily look at enrollment much at all. And right now our formula is still largely based upon old enrollment, our enrollment data from 2012. So this is going to change. They're moving towards changing it in some way. I'm just not, I don't know, obviously, exactly what that's going to be. But what Texas is doing is focusing on completions. And so completions of degrees and certificates, also non-credit certificates, and generating, colleges generating funding by those completions, so that we really are focused on helping our students get through a credential or a degree, instead of just getting people to sign up for classes and just looking at our enrollment even at the end of the semester, which I would argue is a performance anyway. So I'll keep you posted as this goes on. I suspect we won't really hear much about it during the session. This will be next year's interim work, but they have indicated they're very interested in what's going on there, and they're looking at that. So with that, you have a schedule for what we have coming up. We are having in-person commencement on December the 10th. I believe our speaker is going to be Higher Education Secretary Stephanie Rodriguez. And with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Questions, comments, anybody?
Chair Gamble, this is Pierre. I have a
Please.
comment. So I just want to commend the work of everyone who has invested in looking into our placement policy at SFCC. I think historically students of color have suffered the consequences of an approach to placement that has systematically and substantially underestimated their capacity to succeed at our college. So bravo. I think this policy change reflects our commitment to racial equity, and I just am so proud right now.
Thank you, Member Quintana. And I want to say the faculty have been working on this long and hard, and they have done a lot of really incredible work. And I feel like, the board was really instrumental in saying, we want this done. This needs to be done. Why are we waiting on this? And so we just kind of needed the push to move and to say, now we need to do it. Because I agree with you completely. Every semester that we wait, we really do disenfranchise lots and lots of students. And I really feel like when 90% of the public schools in Santa Fe test and developmental education, that's on us.
Right. Yeah.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Linda?
I just, Mr. Chair, comment.
Yes.
So I also want to thank you all, because this has been something we've been talking about for so many years, and I'm so glad it's happening. So thanks.
Yes.
Thank you for staying on us.
Yeah, I would echo all that. I mean, we've talked about it, and that you were able to do it, and the faculty agreed. That's wonderful. And I look forward to, I do hope that there will be some careful measurements of sort of this, what impact these changes made. Okay.
Yes.
If there's nothing else, we'll move on. Thank you, President Rowley.
Thank you.
Now we'll go to Dr. Ortiz Gallegos, and the enrollment report.
Good afternoon, Chair Gamble, members of the board, and President Rowley. So on behalf of my wonderful colleague, Dr. Tomasina Ortiz Gallegos, who is unable to be here today because she is away at a conference, proudly representing SFCC, I will be providing you all with the enrollment reports. So it is my pleasure to do that. Mason, may I please have access to share my screen? Okay, let's see. Share. Okay, members of the board, President Rowley, can you see my screen that has the overall comparison of fall 2021 and fall 2022?
Yes.
Fantastic. So we can begin. So once again, Chair Gamble, members of the board, and President Rowley, it is my pleasure to show you where we are currently at right now with our fall 2022 enrollment numbers and comparing that to where we were at the end of the fall 2021 term. As you can see, we are slightly up in overall student headcount. It's a 4% increase, which, as you can see, is a 177 increase of students in overall enrollment. And again, this is end of term fall 2021 compared to where we are at currently for fall 2022. You can see that our credit hours, they are slightly up by 1%. It's better than being down. So it's promising. You can also see that our courses, it's 4% less courses than we had to offer for fall 2021. So the fact that we are up in overall student headcount and slightly up in credit hours is something to be optimistic about. What I also want to point out to you all is this right here. I hope you can see this. It's the comparison of the age group. You can see that in fall 2021, and that's to my left-hand side, you can see this increase in just about every single age category when you go to look to the right and you see fall 2022. So you can see we are slightly up in the 18 to 24 demographic. You can see that we are up by a lot, well over 100 students in the 65 plus demographic. But you can also see as well too that we are slightly up in the 25 to 34 graphic and the 35 to 44 graphic, 45 to 54, 55 to 64. So basically, Chair Gamble, members of the board, and President Rowley, we are on an upswing. And even though we're still not at the numbers that we were pre-pandemic, fall 2019, the great and promising thing is that our numbers have not dropped since the pandemic. So we had that devastating 2020. And once we were starting to come back post-pandemic, 2021, the numbers saw a slight increase semester after semester. It's not the numbers that we are still wanting pre-pandemic, but it's very promising that there's at least, we're going up rung by rung by rung, slowly but surely. You can see that the numbers are starting to improve. And that is due to the hard work of our staff and faculty who are working to get our students into the college and keep our students. And what I also wanted to show you all, Chair Gamble, members of the board, and President Rowley, is this number here. I'm excited to show you our continuing student numbers for fall 2022 are up 17% in comparison to where they were in fall 2021. So that's retention. Those are students coming back to SFCC from one semester to the next. What I also want to point out is our new student headcount. You can see in fall 2022, we're at 462 registered students in comparison to the end of term for fall 2021 at 394 registered students. Like the continuing numbers, that also is a 17% increase, and we are tremendously excited about that. You can see that there are some numbers that are a little bit down, and you can see that returning student headcount was up in fall 2021, and returning students are those students who took some time off and decided to come back to college after a few semesters or years. And you can see that that number has slightly dipped, but the continuing numbers, new student numbers, they're high. They're getting there, and we're very excited about those numbers. Are there any questions on that so far, Chair Gamble, members of the board, or President Rowley? Hearing none, I will go into some of our recruitment efforts, because I know that that was something that was requested by Chair Gamble, members of the board, regarding our enrollment numbers. And I'll also be talking on behalf of Dr. Tomasino Ortiz Gallegos on some of the great work that they're doing on their end as well. So regarding our recruiting efforts since the fall semester, and again, we are doing a lot of those boots on the ground, and we work hand in hand with marketing and public relations, where they work on a lot of the digital recruiting and digital marketing, which helps us out tremendously. But just some of the highlights of what we do on the recruitment side in fall 2022, we are still having our weekly visits to our big high schools here in Santa Fe. That's Capitol High School and Santa Fe High School. In addition to that, we are at Tierra Encantada Charter High School weekly as well. We have SFCC staff who are there to answer questions, help students with dual credit, talking to them about financial aid, and those next steps as well. Also, and again, these are just some of the highlights, we have participated in a number of career fairs that are dedicated to getting more of our non-traditional students to want to think about coming to Santa Fe Community College. For example, we were just at a career fair, I should say, about 2 weeks ago at Chomp. It's that food district that's downtown. We have also participated at the St. John's Community Involvement Fair, and board member Quintana is well aware of that, and she's always gracious to invite us to that. We also work very closely with partners here on this campus. So students who are in our high school equivalency program, students who are in our English as a second language program, we provide them with campus tours, we provide them with admissions presentations, and depending on where they are, we can start talking to them about these next steps once they receive their high school equivalency or where they are on their level of their English as a second language. Also, we have participated in the Santa Fe Chamber of Commerce Expo event that they had here on the South Side a couple of months ago, which was great. We have also done our high school college fair track, and that includes towns all over northern New Mexico and in Rio Rancho and Albuquerque. We did that all of September, so the office is very busy there. And let me just see if there's any other, I want to also mention that, and this is thanks to board member Jody Pugh getting us connected, Montecito Santa Fe. There are some employees at Montecito Santa Fe who are very interested in starting at Santa Fe Community College. And there have been SFCC staff who have accompanied me to visiting Montecito and talking to these individuals, seeing what they're interested in, seeing where they're at. And based on their interests, based on the needs, that's how we're able to bring in more staff to be able to meet the needs of these individuals, whether that's adult education, credit classes, continuing education classes. So we're really thrilled and happy about all of that. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can tell you on behalf of Dr. Tomasino Ortiz Gallegos, what's going on with our onboarding processes. So, Chair Gamble, members of the board, President Rowley, collaboration. We're very proud to collaborate on, we hosted 6 in-person new student orientations, and that was the offices of student engagement and recruitment and advising. We partnered together to host 6 in-person orientations, and we made sure to have them different days and times. So for example, we had a new student orientation on Saturday morning. We had new student orientations, say on a Wednesday evening, Tuesday afternoon, Monday evening, Thursday morning. We wanted to make sure that any student who wanted to attend had that opportunity to do so. And I'm happy to report that over 100 students participated in our new student orientations. Also, since July 1st, 264 students have completed the online new student orientation. So we're thrilled about that as well. Also, since July 1st, 131 students have completed their financial literacy. And students who apply within 24 to 48 hours are admitted and receive a formal letter of admission, a student checklist, and a link to several of our very valuable student resources. Also, new students receive a handwritten thank you note from our enrollment specialists, encouraging them to reach out. That's very important because that gives these students that sense of belonging And by giving those students that sense of belonging and that sense that they matter, data shows that students will stay at those institutions in higher numbers. Also, students are offered FAFSA workshops throughout the summer and regular term, thanks in part to the hard work of our financial aid office. And all students who have yet to enroll at SFCC are contacted through multiple modalities and are encouraged and guided on how to schedule appointments with academic advisors, enrolling and completing their FAFSA, and how to actually utilize their My SFCC. Finally, undeclared degree-seeking students are contacted and encouraged to complete a career assessment so that they can begin to think about an academic pathway and declare a major. So as you can see, Chair Gamble, members of the board, President Rowley, there is a lot of work behind the scenes to get students in the door at SFCC, get them excited about how great Santa Fe Community College truly is. And then once they are here, giving them that sense of belonging, providing them with the necessary resources to ensure these students that SFCC truly is the place to be, and to give them all the tools they need to be as successful as possible. Chair Gamble, members of the board, President Rowley, I stand for questions.
Well, indeed, you're doing an awful lot, and that's great. Comments, questions for Marcos?
Chair Gamble, this is Jody.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Marcos, I just wanted to thank you for coming out to the Montecito, because it was a real eye-opener for me. Boy, people, you know, they really struggle to get connected to the college, and without all the efforts that you do, reaching out in all those different ways, I can see that they just can't take that step or make that leap, right? And so thank you very much. I had no idea it was so difficult.
Thank you, Board Member Pugh.
Marcos, let me ask you a couple of questions about these weekly meetings at the high schools. Tell me how that works, and what is, what's the whole process? What does it look like? Give us a sense of what that looks like.
Chair Gamble, members of the board, that is a great question. So one of my dreams since I've been in the recruitment chair, since I've been overseeing recruitment, is to be able to have dedicated staff at our major high schools once a week. And in 2018, we were able to do that. And we've been doing that since then. And how those look like, Chair Gamble, members of the board, and President Rowley, is once a week, we'll have somebody from our office. Usually it's going to be either our dual credit specialist, Nikki McKay, our recruitment coordinator, Daniela Gudale. They will go out to these high schools and just depending on the time, if there's a scheduling happening where there's testing, we can be there for anywhere from 45 minutes to 1 hour. If there's not testing going on, then we have the flexibility to be there for up to 2 hours, even longer if we chose to. They make announcements through the intercom that somebody from Santa Fe Community College is currently in, say, the library. That's normally our designated space at both Capitol High School and Santa Fe High School. And what will happen is, and it's hit or miss, sometimes there will be a number of students that come to speak to one of our great SFCC representatives. Other times there might be 3 or 4 students that they speak to. But why I think this is so important, Chair Gamble, members of the board, and President Rowley, is to have that consistency of letting these students know, and not just the students, the counselors, the high school leadership know that SFCC is that constant presence, and we are that constant resource. So it's just ingrained in these students' brains that, oh yeah, Santa Fe Community College is indeed one of my realistic options. It's a great option. And I'm just so happy that we have faces that I can, and resources that I recognize if I decide to go to Santa Fe Community College. In addition, Chair Gamble, members of the board, and President Rowley, we also have occasions where we will absolutely have faculty and other very valued staff members from SFCC join us to speak on behalf of their programs. It could be a career services presentation. It could be somebody from the physics department or automotive that will come and speak to these students. And that's a big deal, because you have students who say they are interested in automotive. they get to, it's one thing to speak to us in our office, and they'll learn a lot, but to be able to hear directly from the actual experts in those areas, I think is tremendously impactful for a number of our students. So yeah, we're there basically 1 to 2 hours a week at these designated high schools that we have received permission from to be there. And like I say, it's a number of things. We can help them with their FAFSA. We can help them apply to SFCC, help them with dual credit, answer questions on admissions, and so much more. Chair Gamble.
Yeah. How do they learn about this concept of dual credit? I mean, it's a wonderful concept. And yeah, how do they learn about that?
Excellent question, Chair Gamble. So students at the high schools, the counselors and their instructors are key. And of course, parents are key in letting students know about dual credit. And then of course, us being there weekly, students can walk in because they've heard about dual credit, say from their high school counselor, or they've heard about it from a parent or somebody else that they trust. And they can come directly to us there at the high school. They can visit us here at SFCC. But I think that dual credit, the word of mouth has really spread, that it's a tremendous opportunity for high school students. And I think parents really appreciate the benefits of dual credit because their child or children are taking college classes and are not having to pay for the tuition, which is waived by SFCC. And the books are covered by their high school district or their charter school. I mean, it's just incredible the opportunities that they have. And then, of course, by completing a dual credit class, they may never have to take that class again, depending on what they're majoring in and if they start college in time when they matriculate after graduation. So I just think that the word of mouth is strong. I know we have great high school partners all across the city of Santa Fe and outside of Santa Fe who are always telling their students, you need to take dual credit, you need to take advantage of this. So the word of mouth is strong on dual credit.
And can you comment generally, students who take dual credit, are they more likely to in fact enroll at SFCC? I mean, the dual credit in and of itself is wonderful, but the next step is, do they in fact enroll? And I don't need exact numbers. I just want your general sense of, are those students more likely to enroll at SFCC?
Thank you for the question, Chair Gamble, members of the board, President Rowley. Chair Gamble, if you like, and actually on the agenda, I am going to be presenting briefly on dual credit, and I have that very information that you are requesting, or I'm happy to answer that right now.
Oh, you're gonna make a special presentation on dual credit?
Specifically on dual credit, following the enrollment report.
Okay, I thought you were doing that as part of the enrollment report.
So stay tuned.
I'll wait. I'm patient.
I see that board member Wilson has his hand up.
I'm curious, in many ways, we've kind of hung our hat on being an inexpensive way to get your early college credits. And now I know the governor and people are talking about tuition is free everywhere in New Mexico, which I think is only kind of true. But do you feel that that's going to be a barrier to building our enrollment back up to pre-pandemic times? Or do you think that there is still a niche for us, even if they can go to UNM for the same price?
Thank you very much for the question, Board Member Wilson, Chair Gamble, members of the board, President Rowley. I don't anticipate that the Opportunity Scholarship is going to necessarily hurt us. The reason that I say that is we've already seen, and it's too early to tell, but we've already heard from our financial aid office that there have been a number of students who have taken advantage of the Opportunity Scholarship and the benefits that it entails this current semester. In fact, and I'll have to give you solid numbers, but last I heard it was well over, I think close to 300 students who took advantage of that Opportunity Scholarship for this year at SFCC, which is very exciting. But with that though, yes, that is absolutely something that we have thought about, that will students, because of the Opportunity Scholarship, will they end up going to another university that might cost a little more money than SFCC. And the reality of that is, yes, there probably are going to be some students that will do that. However, I do think that the programs that we have at SFCC, the quality of the facilities, the resources that we have to offer, I do think that even with that, there will be a number of students who feel more comfortable starting off at a 2-year institution like an SFCC. And I think we'll have those students who are more comfortable in those smaller classroom environments of getting to know their instructor face to face, of the free resources that we have. So yes, it's definitely something that we've thought of, but I do think that even with that option, I think that we'll still see a number of our students taking advantage of using that scholarship and our lottery and other financial aid at SFCC. Does that make sense? Thank you, Board Member Wilson.
And just for some future presentation, I'm interested in hearing some report on WIOA program and how is that, are we getting a good bang for the buck out of the state and a WIOA program in terms of bringing students from that into SFCC?
That's a great question. Board Member Wilson, Chair Gamble, members of the board, President Rowley. I don't actually have the numbers on the WIOA. I can definitely talk to my colleague, Dr. Tomasino Ortiz Gallegos on that for a future meeting, and we can absolutely give you some good numbers on that.
Okay, if there are no other,
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
please, Linda.
So what is the percentage, and you don't have to tell me now if you don't know it, of all the different categories of loans, of scholarships, and how many people are in each of those categories? And then how many people pay themselves, if there are any of those?
Thank you very much for the question, Board Member Siegel, Chair Gamble, members of the board, President Rowley. That is not data that I have at my disposal right now, but we will absolutely get you that for the next board meeting.
Great, thanks.
And Board Member Siegel, later on, I will be sharing some of that information in the financial aid presentation at the end of the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you,
One thing I want to mention to just kind of put a little bit of this, I think, in maybe a little bit clearer context, and part of this is in response to Board Member Wilson's question about opportunity. We have at Santa Fe Community College and all of the other community colleges that I'm aware of in the state, I would say significant numbers of students who are using the Opportunity Scholarship right now. We never had those kind of numbers with lottery. When lottery came out, we did notice, all community colleges noticed a pretty significant shift from some students who would have likely been our students who decided to go to UNM, Highlands, Eastern, whatever to start with, because the model before for kids out of high school had been maybe 2 years with us and then transfer, and it's a cost saving thing. And that all that cost saving advantage went away. And so we never saw very many students on lottery scholarships at 2-year schools, but we're all seeing a lot of people using opportunity money. Now that all needs to be sorted out, as you said. And so I think that, looking at that data and looking at apples to apples is important, but I think that kind of is a little different look, at least in terms of the actual numbers of people who are coming to us. And you're right, there is some weird information out there about what you can get, and people think everything's free and it's not, and all that kind of stuff. But we are at least getting people's attention. And so there are people that reach out to us all the time and say, can I get this scholarship? And oftentimes it's not that one, but another one, but otherwise they weren't coming to our doors. So that's been another really good thing about it.
Okay, wonderful. Any other questions for Marcos about recruiting, marketing, onboarding, but not about dual credit, because dual credit comes next. Okay, Marcos, I think you can go ahead with your dual credit report.
You got it. Thank you very much, Chair Gamble, members of the board, and President Rowley. It is my pleasure to present to you on SFCC's dual credit. So I will share my screen so that we can go to my PowerPoint. All right, can you see my screen on my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Fantastic. So we're just going to
Can
do it
you
like
make
this.
it-
If I start, yes, yes, sir.
Is there any possibility of making it slightly larger?
I believe so. Let me see if I can just start the slideshow itself. Okay, and let's see if this makes a difference. So we'll start from the beginning. Are you seeing my my slideshow, or are you just seeing still just the regular PowerPoint?
I'm not sure what we're seeing.
Regular
PowerPoint. Thank you. So let me share something else. Okay, let's see if this makes a difference. Okay, all, do you see my PowerPoint?
Yeah, that looks
a bit bigger.
Yes, we see your PowerPoint with your next slide on the tray on the side.
Oh, okay. Strange. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, let's see if I can just zoom in, because clearly that's not working out right now. I am trying to zoom in. Is there any nice person on OIT right now that can tell me what I need to press to zoom in on this PowerPoint?
Marcos, this is Todd.
Well, hey, Todd.
Just a heads up, any one of us can zoom in on our own on your computer screen. If you hover over his presentation, hold down your control button and then scroll up. You can scroll without Marcos having to do anything.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Chair Gamble, how is that?
Let's see.
Marcos, we see a blue screen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're just going to do this one. Okay, are we good to go?
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Fantastic. Okay.
Wonderful.
So once again, sorry for those technical difficulties and excuse my ignorance on technology, but this is the dual credit report. Chair Gamble, members of the board, President Rowley. So very quickly, I think we all know what dual credit is, but I thought I would just add it in here to get started. And that is that dual credit allows high school students to take college classes and receive both college credit and high school credit. SFCC, if they're taking dual credit at SFCC, we waive the tuition and regular service fees. And enrolled students, their high school or high school district purchases the textbooks. The only thing that a dual credit student is financially responsible for are any course-specific fees. Think about lab fees, distance learning fees, etc. Moving on, and let me get this smaller. You can see some of our partner high schools. We currently have over 20 different dual credit partner high schools. Everyone from even Capitol High School, Bernalillo High School. You can see Espanola Valley High School, the master's program. Pecos High School, Pewaukee Valley High School, Raton, and so forth. Now, dual credit students enroll in both traditional SFCC classes and cohort classes. Now the difference, traditional SFCC classes are open to all students and are part of SFCC's regularly scheduled classes that you find in a schedule of classes. So those are open to all. Dual credit students, as long as it's on the approved dual credit course list, are more than welcome to sign up for those classes if they meet prerequisites and if they meet the requirements. Dual credit cohort classes are typically classes that are held at a dual credit partners high school campus. These courses are not available on the regular SFCC schedule of classes. So next slide, you're going to see is the number of dual credit students currently enrolled for the fall 2022 semester. And as you can see, we currently have 743 registered dual credit students. We had a little bit more when the semester started. Unfortunately, though, as with any other student, some students end up dropping their classes. But you can see that currently we're at 743 students and 3,833 student credit hours are being taken by dual credit students. You can see our biggest school regarding enrollment right now is the master's program, which is the early college charter high school that is actually here on our campus. And there are 200 master's program students who are currently enrolled in at least one dual credit class. You can see our second largest dual credit partner high school in regards to enrollment is Santa Fe Indian School with 173 registered students. And then you can see a surprising one. Our third biggest dual credit partner in regards to enrollment is Tierra Encantada Charter High School, which has 102 students. That's actually, it's a pleasant surprise because those numbers have continued to grow in the past few years, including the COVID years, where in 2017, 2018, we had maybe about 20 Tierra Encantada students. Since then, though, those numbers have grown every year, and this is the first semester where we've hit the 100 mark. So we're very pleased about that. You can see then that Capitol High School at 92 would then be our fourth largest partner, and Monte del Sol is our fifth. So those are our top five. I want to point out, and this is something that I'll address later on in this presentation, Santa Fe High School and ECO, two of our SFPS partner high schools, those numbers are alarmingly low. And I'll talk to you a little bit about why, some of the reasons for that and what we need to do to improve on that. But those are our biggest dual credit partner high schools in regards to enrollment. Now, overall, since 2018, not there yet. So credit hours, you can see that our TMP students, master's program students, they're taking 1,370 credit hours for this semester. You can see Santa Fe Indian School, and this all makes sense because this goes with the enrollment numbers as well. 752 credit hours right now are being taken by Santa Fe Indian School students, 382 with Tierra Encantada, 320 with Capitol, and 220 with Monte del Sol. You can see, though, that even though our homeschoolers, our dual credit homeschool students, the numbers are, there's not that many that are taking dual credit, but you can see those that do take a number of SFCC classes. And I just want to point out 131 credit hours being taken by our homeschool students. Moving right along, the significance and importance of dual credit enrollment at Santa Fe Community College. You can see our overall number of students right now are 4,202 students. What I also want to highlight is our dual credit student population. Of those 4,202 students currently enrolled at SFCC, 18% of them are dual credit students. That is a significant number, and it just goes to show you how important that segment is to SFCC and our overall enrollment. Moving right along, our current number of dual credit students. So this is this is from yesterday, 736. The number is now currently at 743. Believe it or not, we're still registering a small handful of students who hadn't turned in their paperwork but had been taking their cohort classes. So just wanted to show that number there. And what are the classes that dual credit students are taking? What programs, what areas are we seeing right now the most regarding enrollment numbers? So for fall 2022, you can see that healthcare is number one. 126 dual credit students are enrolled in at least one healthcare class. You can see right behind them, film, digital, and media arts and design classes, 98 students. And historically, healthcare and film have been, and media arts have been some of the more popular programs that dual credit students in classes that they sign up for. You can see, though, English classes, 94 students, although I want to point out that that number, it's a little skewed because the majority of the students who are taking dual credit English classes are from the master's program. A very small percentage of those students are actually from Santa Fe Public Schools or our other dual credit partners. And like Dr. Rowley was saying in her report, we need to work on that and increase those gen ed options for our students who are not in the master's program, for all of our dual credit students. You can see sustainable technologies, 77 students, Spanish, 73 students, math, 64. Again, mainly TMP master's program students are in these gen ed classes, criminal justice at 60 and art at 45. So those are the areas that have the largest number of enrolled dual credit students at SFCC. Historically, since 2018, I should say, healthcare, still number one. English classes, again, the majority of those students are going to be from the master's program, but that's number two. You can see film, digital, media arts, and design is right there at number three. Math at number four. Spanish, sustainable technologies, and welding. And we'll talk more a little bit about why welding and other trades programs are not currently on the list in 2022 for dual credit students enrollment. I also want to point out, and this is a big one, the success rate. We are very proud of our dual credit students. At the end of spring 2022, we had an 89% success rate of dual credit students, meaning that dual credit students completed the semester with a grade of C or higher. So we're very proud of them. But you can see, though, this is broken down by high school. You're going to see 100% success rate for some of these high schools. Please keep in mind that these schools have a very low number of students who actually signed up for dual credit classes. So for example, Espanola Valley High School, they have a 100% success rate for dual credit for spring 2022, but really there might have been about 3 students who actually took dual credit from Espanola in 2022 spring. But the good news is 100% of those 3 students completed with a C or higher. Schools that have a slightly lower success rate, those are going to be our larger dual credit partner high schools. But you can see the master's program, with all the students that we serve, they still have a success rate of 90%, which is very impressive. Moving down, historically, in the past 5 years, since 2018, our success rate has not changed that much, 88% success rate. So it just goes to show you that our dual credit students are succeeding in their SFCC college classes at a large rate, at a large percentage. We're very proud of them. Matriculation, this is the question that you had earlier, Chair Gamble. What happens to these dual credit students after they graduate from high school? So this is the overall number of dual credit students who graduated in the year 2021 and then immediately matriculated to SFCC. Overall, you can see 34% of all students who took a dual credit class and then graduated and matriculated to SFCC in 2021 came to SFCC. That is a 9% decrease in comparison to fall 2019. You can see, though, that if we break it down by high school, the matriculation numbers look different. 51% of all Capital High School students who took a dual credit class in and graduated in 2021 are now taking classes at SFCC. 40% for Santa Fe High School, 40%, which is interesting, for Pecos High School, and there actually are about 40, 50 students that we serve from there. 30% from the master's program, and then you can see 27% from Tierra Encantada. And I wanted to show also some of the lower numbers, 8% for ECO, which is early college opportunities, 5% for Santa Fe Indian School. So why I wanted to highlight Santa Fe Indian School, you will notice they are our second largest dual credit partner when it comes to overall dual credit enrollment, which is great. But why that number is so small at 5% is the vast majority of the students who attend Santa Fe Indian School don't actually live in Santa Fe. In fact, many of those students don't live near Santa Fe County. So that's something that we're trying to figure out, because we absolutely want to get more of those students to matriculate to SFCC. And that 5% is just not a very good number. So we have to figure out ways to get creative. Maybe we can even do some partnerships with other institutions, or just thinking out loud right now to grow that number. But as of right now, that number is low, and the TMP number at 30% is a little low itself. And that's where you're going to see that overall 30% of our overall matriculation numbers. So we definitely need to work on that. And that is something that is a top priority for us in the recruitment area. Continuing challenges. So the decrease in dual credit cohort class offerings with our Santa Fe public school partners. A big reason for that is due to the lack of qualified instructors. I'll give you a good example. At ECO, which is one of our Santa Fe public school partners, we typically in the past have had classes where we offer building construction, greenhouse, welding, just to name a few. Those classes are typically offered at ECO, and many students take advantage and take those classes. Well, what happened over the past couple of years is faculty who are teaching those classes, who are qualified to teach those classes for SFCC, they're no longer there at ECO. And in place are faculty who are teaching on the public school side, welding, building construction, greenhouse, but they don't meet the qualifications, unfortunately, those higher learning qualifications to teach these classes for dual credit. So as a result, we have lost those classes for now. We are working every single semester to try to bring those back and try to see what we can do to help the Santa Fe Public Schools bring in instructors who meet those qualifications, or if there's anything that our faculty can do to help those faculty gain their certification so that they can teach for dual credit. So that's a major challenge. Also, low overall dual credit enrollment with Santa Fe Public School students. And this is something that I've brought up to the SFPS leadership, the superintendent and his executive team. And that is that their numbers, especially since the pandemic, have definitely shrunk. And Santa Fe High School and ECO are big examples of that, where Santa Fe High School, we have about 20 students who are signed up for fall 2022. That's not good. And a big reason for that is we don't have the cohort classes that we used to have on their campus. And again, a reason for that is the faculty that were teaching there, they're no longer teaching there at Santa Fe High School or for Santa Fe Public Schools. So we're trying to work with their leadership at Santa Fe High School and at ECO to bring some thoughtful cohort classes back. We also want to make sure that they're not just taking a class just to pad our numbers. We want to make sure that the classes that they're taking are actually going to benefit these students and go towards an actual degree or certificate and make it easy for them to matriculate to SFCC. You can also see a small percentage of dual credit students who graduate high school and matriculate to SFCC. To me, 34%, that's still too low of a number, and we got to work on that. The amount of time it also takes our high school partners to give us our dual credit student info so that we can actually register students for their cohort classes, it takes too long. I mean, we're literally still registering students. We're done now, but I mean, we are registering students for their cohort classes midway through a semester sometimes, and that makes life really difficult here on the student affairs and academic affairs folks, and we got to do better there. Also, parents reaching out to faculty. I know parents mean well, but I think they forget that their dual credit student is a college student, and those students have to follow FERPA guidelines. And parents sometimes will, if they're concerned with their child's performance or grade, or they have a question, they'll reach out to the faculty who are teaching that class. And we make it a priority to let the schools know that that is absolutely unacceptable, and parents cannot cross that boundary. And in fact, if parents have questions, they can talk to us, but still, we cannot violate FERPA. We have to make sure that students sign a FERPA waiver through our registrar's office if we disclose any information to them. But that every year poses a big challenge, but we try to nip that in the bud as quickly as possible. And opportunities, working for the future. One thing that I want to highlight is we are doing an implementation of dual credit pathways with Santa Fe Public Schools. So hopefully this can help us. So there were results from an assessment conducted by Santa Fe Public Schools and ConnectEd Partnership in 2021 that showed that the majority of Santa Fe Public School high school students, 21%, which is actually a large number given the amount of options that they had to choose from an area of interest, they chose arts, AV technology, and communications. So given these exciting results, SFPS wants to work with us to expand our dual credit opportunities that align directly with these pathways. So Dean Jim Wysong, Associate Dean Shalimar Krebs, Milton Reese, who chair of film, we got together and met with Mary Massey, who oversees SFPS's career readiness, and their arts director, Christina Gonzalez. And we had an initial meeting talking about, well, what can we do to start pathways and start getting these classes onto the high school campuses? They're very excited about the opportunities. They have reached out to the respective high school principals. They have received their blessing, and we will be having a meeting here in the next couple of weeks with our SFCC leadership and their SFPS leadership to really get this off the ground, because this has the potential of expanding our dual credit overall enrollment, which is great, but more importantly, creating these pathways that are going to mean something to these students. It's not just about the numbers, it's about, does this actually mean something for these students? We are also, and I didn't put it on the PowerPoint, we also are going to get aggressive with our recruitment on any students who are seniors taking dual credit classes. We'll reach out to them via text message, email, phone call, whatever we can do to really get these students wanting to continue with us after high school. And that is my report. I thank you very much, and I stand for questions. Chair Gamble.
Fantastic report. Thank you very much. Yeah, fascinating. Wow. All the work you're doing, golly. And in all those schools. I mean, I thought previously it was only going to be Santa Fe High and Capitol High, but going around to all those schools, indeed. Yeah, questions, comments? You've sort of presented so much, people are just flabbergasted.
Chair
Mr.
Gamble, oh, go ahead.
No, I just want to mention one thing that I heard at the, and I'm not even going to say who said it because I'm not exactly sure who told it to me, but it was the superintendent or somebody like that. Santa Fe Public Schools is looking at finding transportation money to look at busing students out to the campus, which is a huge thing for us because, you know, Marcos is absolutely correct. When they don't have the faculty that meet our Higher Learning Commission credentialing for teaching dual credit, then they come to us. And it's good for a lot of different reasons if we can just get more kids onto our campus. But busing is always an issue. You know, they can't get here. And it's expensive, and so for the district to acknowledge that and to be looking at how they can add money to their budget for that is a really important acknowledgement of the importance of dual credit, I think. And so good job, Marcos, for all you're doing.
Thank you, Dr. Rowley.
Yeah, fantastic job. Yeah, maybe you just need to get some electric vans that are painted appropriately, running all around town. Yeah, any other questions, comments? Everyone's flabbergasted.
No, Chair, this is Jody. Thank you, Marcos. That was very informative. You know, the one thing that strikes me is the Indian school, just how many students we lose that, you know, from, I think you said 173 and down to 5% come to the college, which is like 8. So, yeah, that's a very interesting statistic to me, because it seems to me like we are the natural progression for many of the schools in this area, and especially, you know, kids that live in northern New Mexico. And so, thank you for that information.
Thank you, Board Member Pugh.
And it would certainly be interesting to follow up that whole notion of sort of the matriculation after they take the dual credit. Obviously, some of them could just be going to a 4-year school. Now, could they get some of that credit? Presumably, the credits that they're getting would be good at the four-year school as well, for the most part. Is that true?
Thank you very much, Chair Gamble, for that question, members of the board, President Rowley. It just depends on the class, and we want to make sure that at the very least, in order for a class to be on the approved dual credit list, it has to go towards, at the very least, an SFCC degree and certificate. But that's why those Gen Ed classes are so important, is we want those numbers to increase so that students do have that opportunity, whether they start with us or they go to a four-year, that they at least have some of the tools in place and classes in place to get there. But it just depends on the class, Chair Gamble.
Right.
But most certainly, they go towards a degree or certificate with SFCC.
Yeah. I mean, that would be another measure of the success of the dual credit, not only that they come to SFCC, but also if they enroll someplace else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Zubi.
Yeah, I'm also curious. I mean, it seems to me from watching graduations, just anecdotally, there are a fair number of students from the Indian School and the master's program who are actually getting their associates in the spring. And so they're not necessarily, their trajectory is not necessarily to come here because they've completed their degree. Is that an impact on how many people are matriculating here?
That's a great assessment, Board Member Wilson, Chair Gamble, members of the board, President Rowley. Yes, so you will notice that during our graduations, there's a number of, especially the master's program students, who are walking with our SFCC graduates, earning their certificate for sure in many cases. And in some cases, they are indeed walking out with an associate's degree. And the master's program, so given that it's an early college charter high school, those students have the autonomy to take multiple classes. And there's actually quite a number of them who are already full-time students taking 12 to 15 to sometimes 18 credit hours while they're still in high school. So they definitely have more flexibility when it comes to, and an advantage when it comes to them being seniors in high school and having the necessary credits to get their certificate or degree. Santa Fe Indian School, while they don't have the credits to get their degree, they do most certainly, some of them, depending on the classes that they're taking, are walking out with a certificate, and that's really exciting. Another thing is Santa Fe Indian School, so the students by and large don't live near Santa Fe or Santa Fe County. Another thing is I know that their counselors there are, and I understand it, it's very noble, but they are also wanting to see their students, Ivy League is the goal. And they've been very transparent with me about this, is that they want to see their students go to Ivy League schools, and they are working on that pathway with them. So for what that's worth, to be as transparent as possible, I wanted to share that. And master's program students, yes, they're on a trajectory, many of them, for a four-year. And that's why they have the autonomy and flexibility to take the amount of credits that they do with SFCC so that they can make that transfer to a four-year school, whether in-state or out-of-state. But just seeing 30% of our TMPs graduates continue with SFCC, that's really promising.
Absolutely so. Thank you, Marcos, for the report and all the work you do.
Thank you so much, Chair Gamble.
All those programs, the dual credit, as well as all the recruiting, etc. Any other comments or questions for Marcos?
I think Pierre has her hand up. Board Member Quintana.
Please.
Marcos, I just wanted to revisit some of the conversation around parents. Can you say more? I understand like FERPA and all of those pieces, but is there an advantage for us to look differently at how we engage parents? Are we looking at ways in which we engage parents? Can you share more about what we're doing there?
Yeah, that's a great question, Board Member Quintana. Thank you so much for that. Chair Gamble, members of the board, President Rowley. So parents are still very involved with a dual credit student in their journey. So the beauty of dual credit is, and it's kind of the gift and the curse, right? We have a lot of dual credit students, and we have to work with almost all of them individually, especially my amazing dual credit specialist, Nikki McKay, who manually registers these students into their classes. But what that means is she gets to interact very closely with not only the dual credit student and myself, we don't get to just necessarily interact with the students, we get to interact directly with the parents. Because if a student is under 18, they still need to have their parents' permission in order to sign up for dual credit classes. So we have dual credit orientations, and we have different modalities. We have online dual credit orientations. We incorporate the dual credit orientation with the new student orientation. And we have the opportunity to speak to a number of parents. Parents also, believe it or not, they actually will go to the high school when we're there, and they will ask us questions. Now, while we can't necessarily give them information that's going to violate FERPA, we absolutely can sit with them, talk to them about dual credit, talk to them about the benefits of dual credit, of SFCC, and let them know that we are a resource, not only for the students, but for them. And we can answer any questions that they have, and just work with them in that regard. So yes, we do have a pretty good parent engagement, and it's because specifically we're manually registering these students. So they have to come through us in order for us to register them. Did that answer your question, Board Member Quintana?
Yes, thank you, Marcos.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks again, Marcos. If there are no
Thank
other
you.
questions, did I hear somebody? No. Okay, so now we will move on to Faculty Senate report. Dr. Sensibaugh.
Thank you.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Pretty close, yes. Sensibaugh.
Sensibaugh.
Thank
Okay,
you, Chair
Cheryl,
Gamble.
please.
I appreciate that. Members of the board, President Rowley, it's wonderful to see you all today. I do appreciate this opportunity to communicate with you all in this forum. I have a couple of pieces of business updates on minutes, and then I also have a short story to share with you that kind of pulls together some data that I've compiled and hopefully addresses some of the questions that were asked about faculty back in the August board meeting.
Wonderful.
So first, a couple of updates on minutes. I need to offer my sincerest, heartfelt apology, Chair Gamble, and to all of the members of the board, the entire community at large, for the inaccurate statement that appeared in some staff Senate meeting minutes from convocation. The statement was made by a faculty member. So those minutes had been approved by both staff Senate and faculty Senate. So going through faculty Senate for approval, I accept responsibility for that appearing in there, and want to assure you that we did discuss at the faculty Senate meeting on October 14th the importance of accuracy in the minutes, and both bodies are in progress working to formalize a correction for that statement. Mostly, I wanted to do this because it involved my colleague Robert Gutierrez, chair of Staff Senate, and I appreciate him addressing those questions at the board meeting last month. But this came from faculty, and I do accept responsibility. I thank you for bringing it to our attention and raising it last month so that we can get it corrected. The other note on the minutes that I wanted to mention was the minutes from our September 30th meeting that are included in this current board packet. You may have noticed there is an approved amendment within the text of the minutes. It was a simple mistake that amendment didn't get inserted into the sentence. before finalizing the document and sending it on for inclusion in the board packet. So we will be paying more attention to detail in the future for those kind of things. With those out of the way, I would like to just kind of encapsulate the rest of my update from faculty into kind of a short story. And if I could share my screen, I've also put together 2 slides that may help folks who are visual. I was just going to say this verbally, but I thought about the visual people because I am one of them. So I will try to share my screen here. Oh, looks like I have to do, oh no, I can go to window. Okay, I believe you should see my slide here now.
We do.
Thank you. So to update the board on what faculty have been concerned with, this dates back to the August meeting. We conducted a survey of all faculty members. A total of 320 received the survey in middle of September. We had almost a 10% response rate and asked them to identify their priorities that they thought Faculty Senate should work on this academic year. The top outcomes, the top 3 priorities, number 1 was compensation and workload. Numbers 2 and 3 were tied, those being communication across the college and shared governance. So these are the kinds of things that are on faculty minds this year. And this kind of encapsulates as much of an aggregate as we could get for faculty voices across campus. 10% response rate is pretty standard. That's what happened in elections this year. So this is a good representation, I believe, of what faculty are concerned about. And for my second slide, oh, yes, thank you. I'm glad I put this on here. For shared governance, one of the things that there may be that we need to kind of tease apart is the idea that shared governance, in addition to policy review, includes a myriad of other topics that faculty would like to be involved in making decisions. And I did discuss this with Vice President Margaret Peters, and we agreed that those concerns would best be raised in Governance Council, that would be the forum for those. So we have had one Governance Council meeting this semester, and I'm looking forward to continuing those discussions there. The other part of data that I have for you is not aggregate data. These are representative experiences. I just have 3 to share here with you. These are qualitative remarks that I've compiled from faculty from various sources. And I hope to paint a little picture of our morale in response to those questions from August, and share one of the ideas that was raised by faculty, and then the response to those ideas. So first, I have an anonymous statement from back in August. I chose to share this statement, even though it was made by one faculty member. It was stated, it embodied so many things so succinctly that I've heard from multiple faculty members. I have ideas and dreams for what I can bring to students during my career here. Things need to change before they can be implemented, though. I need to feel that my ideas and dreams and expertise are valued. Why should I work so hard to make improvements and put myself out there when I get no respect for what I can bring to the table? I don't get the pay I deserve. I don't get the benefits I deserve. The next comment occurred during the conversation with Vice President Margaret Peters. We had that session during our Faculty Senate meeting on October 14th. And this is one faculty member's proposal for ways to better our experience at the college. Would you be willing to consider faculty's vision of the future SFCC as a means to retention? Specifically, faculty may be greatly influenced to remain at SFCC if annual retention bonuses were standard policy and positions could be converted to newly created, fully remote positions, i.e. 100% teaching and service. To add to the vision, remote positions could be integral to realizing the strategic goal of adding fully online programs for students. I won't elaborate on Ms. Peters' response. I won't take the time to do that. What I have is a newly submitted question, hot off the press this morning. We have a conversation with President Rowley coming up at our Faculty Senate meeting on Friday. I know this here is not the forum, President Rowley, for you to address this at all. I'm only showing this because it is a follow-up to the previous question. The VPASA's response to the above proposal to create fully remote positions was to make those positions new hires. I personally felt completely devalued as a professional educator to hear that solution. And then there's some confusion about how new hires are a means to retention, which is not the question to be answered here. But I hope that these faculty comments can really highlight how faculty are feeling right now. When we have ideas, what happens with those ideas. So I am looking forward to following up on these ideas more at our conversation on Friday coming up. And President Rowley, I do not mean to put you on the spot specifically with this question. This is just the bigger picture of what faculty are experiencing now. That is my report for now, and I stand for questions, and thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. Indeed, does anyone want to comments or questions? And I'll assume that President Rowley she's having her meeting with them, so she will not be commenting, but any other comments or questions for Cheryl and her? And thank you very much for that, Cheryl. I mean, certainly all of us want, including Professor Dr. President Rowley, we want that candid sort of expressions of concern about the college. We want those, and we want to deal with them, whatever they are, as tough as that may be.
We're trying. It's tough. It's yeah, I'll just agree that it's tough.
Okay. Anyone else want to comment or question for Cheryl?
Chair Gamble, this is
Please.
Jody. Yeah, Cheryl, I just wanted to thank you as well. One, for correcting the minutes. I think it's important we deal in facts because can't really solve problems until you know the facts, right? And so thank you for that and for ensuring that happened. And yeah, thank you for bringing issues forward. Certainly, we're not going to solve them here, but to know what they are and to be working towards a common goal is very important. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for hearing me.
Any other comments?
I had a couple of questions. There in your minutes, you talked about there was an ongoing problem with adjuncts getting paid on a timely basis. And I'm wondering, did that get resolved? It said in the minutes you were filing a formal complaint. Did everything get resolved in a meaningful way? And do you feel like that problem was resolved and won't be repeating?
Thank you for that question, Member Wilson. Yes, so with that, the complaint has not been filed yet. We're compiling evidence from faculty to submit with the complaint. So that has not been officially submitted yet, but that was the motion to proceed with getting it submitted.
And also, Professional Development Day just happened. Did the faculty feel that went well, and did faculty have a meaningful role in helping to develop the agenda and the plans for that day?
Oh, I appreciate that question as well, Member Wilson. So the plan was put together, as I understand it. Mary Margaret, I believe, is the woman's name in Human Resources, who brought together all of the programming, the focus on mental health awareness and crisis intervention was something that had been raised by Faculty Senate. If I'm not mistaken, perhaps Robert Gutierrez could speak. It may have been requested by Staff Senate as well. So there was broad interest across campus for the programming that was offered. And I have not spoken with many faculty yet since Friday about Professional Development Day. So I can say from my perspective solely, it was in many ways a breath of fresh air. It felt like a community was back, that caring about mental health was back. So, just off the top of my head, I think, that's how I felt about it. There were some, comments being in a hybrid setting, the whole range of comments was shared during the sessions. So everyone had their own unique perspective. Compared to past professional development offerings, I would say this was a breath of fresh air.
And also, in terms of your minutes, be careful, because if somebody said something in the minute that wasn't true, that doesn't mean you should necessarily take it out, but perhaps identify that it was an inaccurate statement. Because if the statement was made, but it's inaccurate, taking it out of the minutes may not be the best way to present the meeting. But maybe identifying that it was not an accurate statement somehow.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. We will be sure to craft the correction so that that's reflected. Yes.
Okay.
Chair Campbell, this is Jody. Zuby, just to that point, if you change it, you need to to correctly reflect records, right? You need to put one line through it, strike it out with one line, and then do a correction after that so that people understand what happened. Okay. So there's a record of it. Thank you.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you, Member Pugh. Actually, we were fortunate enough to be guided by the Staff Senate Secretary. Kudos to her, Laura Smith, for immediately pulling out Robert's rules and saying, okay, you know, both bodies approved this document. Both bodies need to make a motion at a future meeting, and so that future meeting reflects the correction. We're not going to change the original document, but we're going to, you know, reflect it in the minutes for the next meeting. Yeah.
Yes, correct. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Board Member Pugh.
Any other comments, questions for Cheryl? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Cheryl, for your report and your candid comments. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Chair Gamble.
Okay, we can now move on to the Staff Senate report. Mr. Gutierrez.
Chair Gamble, members of the board, President Rowley, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to present on behalf of Staff Senate. There is not a lot of updates. I'll give you a few updates that we have, but we did not meet this last Friday at our regular meeting because of Professional Development Day. So Staff Senate did not meet recently, but I wanted to give a few updates that we had from our previous meeting. The first one is we want to give a special thank you to Board Member Secretary Pierre Quintana, who was very kindly provided Staff Senate with the presentation on the Public Service Loan Forgiveness that was prepared by St. John's College Financial Aid Office. She did receive permission for us to tailor it for SFCC. Staff Senate Secretary Laura Smith did that, and we sent it out to all staff members, and it was very much appreciated. So thank you, Member Quintana. It was a great presentation. Really appreciated it. The next piece is that Laura Mulry does an awesome job of always keeping, as far as Staff Senate is concerned, up to date on chess and Workday, and she put together a presentation for us about how training would be done as it's coming. And for staff, it's you know, they feel a little anxious about something new. So this is always welcome. And the training was about how training will take place in the coming months for Workday, you know, from format, timing, and length of training needed. It's going to be different for different constituencies. There will be instructor-led classes, in-system instructions, e-learning opportunities, and tip sheets. And I think, you know, staff went like, whew, this is great. This is really good to hear. So and staff understands that everybody will need to learn Workday in some way or another. And so some of this training will be mandatory. And we understand that and we appreciate that. So big shout out to Laura Mulry for always keeping Staff Senate in the loop on that. Appreciate that. We are still looking. No nominations have been accepted for election of a co-chair. So we're still optimistic about that. We're looking for a co-chair, but we'll find somebody. We'll find somebody to step up to the plate there. And then just on a personal note, I want to give a big shout out to Marcos Maez and Jonathan Harrell, who President Rowley mentioned earlier that they were in the play at Teatro Paraguas, and I got to see it. And not only, governing board, do we have some amazing, talented students, we have some amazing, talented staff. Just wanted to recognize them on that. And with that, I stand for any questions, Chair Gamble.
Robert, do you think we're going to lose them to their acting careers?
Joe Gamble, they do a great job. They're amazing. I was very impressed with them, and it's really nice to see my colleagues out there in a performance. So
Right.
they're very. I do have to say what they do here at the college is very special. But
Right.
they, I guess, if they ever decided to retire from here, they could do that.
Thank you very much, Robert. Any comments or questions for Robert? Okay, thank you, Robert, for that report. And now we'll look to the student government report. And yes.
Hi. Yeah, thank you, Chair Gamble.
Mariano, you've been in place now for how long?
About a month now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, you should have a wonderful report.
Yeah. So I do have some stuff from before I was like officially in, but
Great.
yeah, with that I'll get started. So in the month of August, we had our welcome back week, and we served breakfast burritos to over 150 students. Also in August, we opened up our campus cupboard, which helps, feed hungry students and just community members. That is open for 30 plus hours a week. And we're planning on expanding that to 40 hours a week in the spring term. Right now we have 4 modes of delivery. That's contactless pickup. We can deliver to an office or a classroom, or you could pick up your pre-packed box in the cupboard. You could also just, go into the cupboard and shop it up. In January, they had served 5 members, and as of last week, they've served over 1,200 people. So,
wow.
Yeah, big jump. In addition to distributing food in that way, we also have 3 snack areas around campus. One is in the nursing center. We have one in the campus center here, and also one in the automotive technology center. So that's it for August. And in September, we held the elections to elect, me and Jasmine, our treasurer. But we are still searching for our vice president, a secretary, and a couple senators. So yeah, we were also sworn in during our Hispanic Heritage Month celebration, and that was on September 20th. We had mariachis, we had folklorico dancers, and we also catered some tacos. The turnout for that was over 300 people. So, yeah, if you have tacos, people show up.
Yeah.
And then in the month of October, we had our, that's this month, we had our first official SGA meeting. That was actually this Monday, 2 days ago. And also at the end of this month, on the day of Halloween, we're having 3 celebrations. We're having a parade at the kids' campus, and then we're having an office decorating contest, and at noon, being a costume contest. And that's about it for October. And then in the month of November, which is upcoming, in the past few years, Student Activities has displayed U.S. flags of our community's veterans and their families, and these flags will now be exhibited in the campus courtyard's grass area. That's cool. Also, in November, on the 15th, we are going to be having an Indigenous Peoples Month celebration. That's going to be pretty similar to the Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. Food probably. And yeah, that's about it. I stand for questions.
You sound like you've been busy.
Yeah.
Well, did you want to share with us any of your campaign goals when you were running for the office?
Yeah, so I think the biggest would be to boost student engagement in almost any facet that we can. I do want to get some polls running to just gauge, I guess, what would incentivize students to engage with more events with more polls. And one of the most outstanding suggestions I've received so far is to create different events for different niches. For example, a lot of the trades students aren't on campus during our like midday celebration, so we could have something on the side for them.
Right.
And yeah, I want to expand a little more on groups that aren't really represented by our events quite yet. Another thing is, I know that we have social medias running, but from what I hear, they're kind of lackluster, and I want to see what we can do about changing up the content to, again, boost engagement, and in that way also boost engagement in polls and just overall knowledge of deadlines and whatnot. Also, another little fun one is me and Yasmin were talking about having some sort of fundraiser to take the kids campus on a field trip, maybe Meow Wolf, maybe some kids museum. Yeah, but that's about it. Nothing is totally fleshed out yet. I'll probably have a lot more to report next month.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Emiliano.
Thank you, Chair Gamble.
Any
Emiliano,
comments, questions? Yeah. Gooby.
Emiliano, I noticed you guys were not listed as attending the last governance council meeting in the minutes. Do you guys plan on being a part of that? And do you see your role as, besides putting on events and building morale, being a vehicle for student concerns?
Yeah. That's a lot of what making the students feel heard, bridging that gap between representation and what the students feeling and thinking. But yeah, we do definitely think of being a regular attendees in these meetings and seeing what we can contribute, as well as what we can take from all the information that you guys supply.
Other comments or questions for Emiliano? Thank you very much, Emiliano. Welcome aboard. We'll
Right, I almost forgot about that.
please, Audrey, yes.
I gave you a
That
And I think and send it back to you, Audrey.
I'll go ahead and read that then. I, Emiliano Diaz, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution and laws of the State of New Mexico, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office member, Santa Fe Community College Board, Santa Fe, New Mexico, which I am about to enter according to law and to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, now it's official.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
Okay.
Look forward to having you around.
Okay, moving along. We're running pretty close to schedule. So we're now going to have approval of the consent agenda. So the minutes for, do I have to do these individually? The work session minutes of September 16th?
No, Mr. Chair, if they're on the consent agenda, you can just approve the whole consent agenda unless somebody unless somebody would like to remove something from that agenda.
Okay.
Move to
Lindsay?
approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor indicate by raising your hand or your voice.
Aye.
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 Okay, unanimously approved. Um, I would like to just make one comment on the work session minutes of September 16th. I will appreciate any comments that you have to offer about that discussion. I thought it was an interesting discussion. It was good engagement, and it would be helpful if you had any comment, anything that you thought was should be highlighted for the future, whatever. I will appreciate receiving those comments from all the participants in those meetings. Okay, thank you. Nothing on SFCC policy at the moment. And as far as I know, nothing to be removed from the agenda, from the consent agenda. And now we go to one of our favorite topics, money. Mr. Tellis, tell us about money and financial reports.
I will be happy to, Mr. Chairman. Let me share my screen here. So I won't take too much time, Mr. Chairman, board members, President Rowley won't take too much time going through each individual paper in the report, but to highlight the financial report as of the end of September, at September 30th, 2022, I was starting out with our cash balance. We had a total cash balance about $31 million compared to $20 million last year at the same time. That's a year-to-year improvement of $12 million. A lot of that is really related to sort of special earmarked funding. We received over $4 million between the two fiscal years for educational technology notes. So we had, been able to obtain $4 million in those ed tech notes that we had in this report and didn't have last time around. So that 4 million is part of the 12. We also had $2 million in endowment money coming from the state, and an additional right around 1.1 million in nursing expansion funding. So together that's about $3.2 million for those special project funds, and that was a result of the legislature. So the growth in cash is really related to that in many ways. And tuition and fees was just up 70,000. So I would say that's about flat. We've seen a pretty large increase from our state appropriation, where we've received $1.5 million more than we did last year. And a lot of that state appropriations related to legislative compensation approvals that happened for this fiscal year. Mill levy revenues down slightly. And so it's kind of really not a lot to say there, because we get the primary, major large infusions of that funding right around December, January, February, and then also in May and June. And so ING revenues were up in total by about 1.4 million, and expenses were up 2.4 million, and that's up 40% on the expense side. And a lot of that really relates to us having 3 pay periods in September, and in the prior year, in 2021, we only had 2. So that's starting to, well, that's really the big change there with that 40% increase. And so with that, that's it. That's the financial report, pretty much in general. And with that, I know you've had a chance to take a look through the report, and I can stand for any questions that you might have. The college is really in good financial footing through September. And through September is our first quarter of the fiscal year completed. So pretty much good news from what we see financially at the college.
That's what we like. Good news. Any comments, questions? Hearing none. We can approve the financial report. Oh, now we moved. Do we need a vote on that?
Yeah, I think we need a vote on it.
Okay.
Yes, we do need a vote.
So could I hear a motion to approve the financial report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay,
Aye.
approved. Unanimous. And the disposal list.
Mr. Chair, I thought this was going to be your favorite item.
Yes.
So with this disposal list, we usually, Mr. Chair and board members and President Rowley, we usually bring this to the board later on in the year, but because of the transition to Workday, we really need to get a clean report of current capital and fixed assets that are being depreciated, moved from our current system into Workday. And again, we go live in Workday on December 17th, I believe. And so that's why we're bringing it to you a bit early. You know, most of the items on this list are fully depreciated or have very little value. The large portion is, in fact, a lot of IT equipment, which, you know, when we dispose of these items, OIT, they do a really good job of keeping track of the equipment and all of the security, provisions of that equipment. And when they're old pieces of equipment, they become risky in terms of making sure we keep adequate and the best security from a cybersecurity standpoint. And so that's why we're depreciating a lot of these items. And so with that, that's really it. We have this one item that is actually at the end of the report here, you see some items with some current net book value still left on them. What we're doing is we're trying to dispose of them because we've changed the calculation that we use for the useful life. In going through all of our financial records, we have wanted to revise some of the established useful life for some of the items here towards the end. And, just for instance, this Hema's desk, it's the number 3918 there that you see. We're revising that from a 20-year lifespan to 10-year. And it's more of it kind of is a better way to identify that useful life in the way that the generally accepted accounting principles want us to do that. So that's what you see there. Out of really a total of a grand total of $2.6 million of items that we bought at the time of acquiring those items, the remaining net value on them after depreciation is about little over $64,000. So everything is pretty much obsolete or, worn out kind of things that are really taking up a lot of space on campus. So with that, I can stand for any questions that you might have.
And exactly how do we dispose of them? Is it it's not a yard sale, is it?
No, we contract with an auctioneer vendor.
Okay. Comments, questions? Anybody?
I guess I still have some of the concerns that I expressed in the spring when we went through a list like this, I don't think that many of these things I see on here, while the particular department that maybe had them, they may not be useful. There are other departments that might very well be able to put them to use. And I spoke to a few people. Some people are concerned that some of this equipment may be in use currently. So I'm concerned. I'd like to table this so we can actually make sure that the campus gets to look through this and vet it and make sure that we're not throwing away things that are actually still of value to the campus, whether or not they have an actual dollar value. They may have a use value, even if they've been depreciated fully. So I guess I'm a little concerned because I talked to a couple of people about some of the equipment in there that it may be appearing on that list, and people are concerned that they don't want to see it removed because it's equipment that is stored in cabinets that they do use.
Oh, I would highly doubt that, Mr. Chairman and Member Wilson. These items are held within our general services office. And so when they dispose of them, they have them on hand. They're not sitting around on campus. So there is a chance that somebody's seeing an item that looks similar to what they have, but I assure you that these things have gone through our sort of internal process for controlling inventory. They've ultimately arrived at our general services where we collect this stuff, and we have multiple containers that are really taking up area in general services that houses this stuff. So yeah, those are my comments on that.
If I could make a suggestion, because yes, what Nick says is correct, but also if there is anything that somebody recognizes as something that they're using or whatever, then Nick should know about it immediately. And then we can look at that. But one of the issues, especially with any kind of old IT equipment or anything, we can't support any of that. And so it becomes a nightmare for OIT if people are trying to recycle old pieces of equipment. Plus, it can create a lot of dangerous network security situations. Corey Bergen and I have had this conversation many times, and she's gone to great lengths to clarify this for me. And then the other thing that I would say in terms of tabling this, I mean, if we did, now Chess will be behind.
I guess in the long run, I would like to see some sort of process that we had spoken about or in the spring, whereby as we put these lists together, they're actually circulated throughout campus so that other people may have a purpose for something that maybe culinary doesn't really have a use for it, but maybe controlled environment agriculture does. Maybe, and I understand with any kind of computer, I understand completely. You can't just kind of let that float around in the world that potentially is dangerous security-wise for us. But I think there are a lot of things on here that I'm looking at that may have use. I mean, I'm looking at a big aerator that might be really useful for the algae cultivation program. And anyhow, I'm just hoping that as we go forward, that we develop a process where we actually circulate these lists and allow people to see, because I see things on here that we may dispose of and then turn them by again in spring. And I just don't think that's good.
Member Wilson, I think we could do that. I think, when I saw this was on the agenda, I thought, wait a minute, this is way out of cycle. And as Nick said, it is out of cycle. And so this is like a real, this is a list for asset disposal normally we have a little bit more drawn out time period, and we could look at doing that.
Yeah, yeah. We learned recently, Mr. Chair and Member Wilson, through the chess, just the mad scramble to get everything situated in chess. It's a massive undertaking to move everything over to the new system, and so this is what is being asked of all the schools in order to get the cleanest list and get that, because the depreciation calculation, when it's done in the system, it's very finicky, right? You want to have the absolute correct beginning financial information and data so that the system can process that on its own. If it's incorrect, it becomes a big, huge mess. So yeah, I do apologize for not being able to, give you all, as we did speak last time around, enough time to kind of vet this. And I would recommend that maybe we just schedule it to have a couple, basically 2 readings of the board. First reading is, here's the list that we're thinking of, and we need to get it approved, by the following meeting. But this is the list. Let's, let folks know about it. Now, I will say that administratively, we don't really have a lot of time to go back and forth with people on, the determination of this thing's still good. No, it's not. Corey, come into the conversation. Why is it not good? Why can't I use it? That becomes a huge undertaking as well. And a lot of these things have come from the user. I mean, we use a form when they want to depreciate something. They submit that form to general services. They get the form. General services will go pick the item up, or they'll bring it to general services. And so there is that process. So when somebody is saying that this item is we can't use this item anymore, it's pretty much a accurate assessment that it's not, that there's no value to it. It's, exceeding the useful life. So there's challenges on using something longer than it should be used for. And so, the confidence level that we have with this list is pretty darn good. And I know that Corey really does use computer equipment, especially for students and checking out computers, as long as we possibly can. I mean, we've had some computers that are frankly in pretty bad shape that we hang on to. And so I don't think that they're very willy-nilly with putting things on this list. They do hold them as long as they can, and really it's a matter of maintaining proper security to avoid risks, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Nick, I don't think there's any issue regarding the board. I think the point that Zuby is raising is simply if other departments, if all the departments have an opportunity to review these lists so they could pick out stuff. I mean, we on the board, we have no idea by and large of what, we're not going to review the list item by item, but there may be, and Zuby, correct me if I'm misstating your interest, which is simply to give departments an opportunity to go over the list and see if there's anything on there that they would like.
And I'm thinking of things like, even maybe if this isn't something we really want to use, maybe the pumps and motors class would like to disassemble something and be able to use as a demonstrator in their class, even if it maybe is an older motor or an older pump. Or, I mean, I just think there's a lot of opportunities for reuse of things. But if somebody is concerned that they see something on there that they think is stuff that they use, who do they contact to say, hey, can you make sure that you're not, that this is something different than what it looks like to me?
Yeah, they could contact anybody in accounting, me, a lot of times purchasing, but the area really is general services.
Okay.
That's who handles all of disposals, really, and keeping track of it.
Chair Gamble.
Yes, please.
Yeah, this comes up every time we see this list. So this is not a new subject, but the one thing I would encourage is that we work through maybe department heads or department chairs versus every single person who thinks they might have a need on this, because if there truly is something a department can use, all these things have maintenance, they all have life cycle costs, they have, dollars that have, and time and energy that have to be committed to them. So, I mean, maybe that's a better or a more efficient way to do it, is just get the department heads involved, have them review the list, get their yay or nay, and then we can move on. I mean, not this one. This one, obviously, we're under a time crunch, but that might be an easy way in the future to expedite this process and just have it go through the department heads, get it back with a yay or nay, and then we're all good to go.
What does that sound like, Nick?
I think that's doable.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, Zuby, did you still want a tabling motion?
Let me ask us one question. Could we send it out to department heads, and if people see something on there that they really would like to allocate for their department, even if we approve this, could we still pull it off the list and let another department use it? Even after we've approved it for disposal?
I absolutely want to say yes, but oh my gosh, that could create a real frenzy, and we're a little over a month out then that we have to get this stuff taken off the books. But what do you think, Becky? I mean, it's possible, but if it turns into, how these things can turn into a major
Make a tight deadline. Don't let people look at it for a month,
No, I think you'd have to give people like Nick maybe like a few days or something like that. And,
Okay.
and really that's gotta be it. I mean, like truly then, and then it goes on to, do whatever you all do with it.
Yeah, okay. We can do that, and if there's anything that we take off of this list, I'll just kind of report it to the board next time we meet.
Well, I don't think there would be any need to report it to the board, unless you wanted to put something else on.
Yeah,
Or
to
if
me, the
there's any
big
need-
if we added stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
I would just encourage you to keep it at a really high level of review and only accept from department heads, because this every single time this comes up, everybody sees stuff on it for 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah, I'm getting some sort of what they look like to be panicked messages right now from my team saying, please, a lot of this stuff is not safe, and so we've got to be very careful with that.
Right.
We have to make sure they're for college uses too, because it can't be any kind of a personal use thing.
Right.
It has to be, and you have
The
to bid
other
on
thing-
auction.
Yeah, agreed. And if it says broken, then there's safety issues. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that really whittles down quite a bit of things. So, anyways, if you can expedite it, great. But a couple days, department heads, that's it. Move on. We're
Okay.
not stopping chess, right, Becky?
And I think
Yes.
you've gotten your flavor of the comments, that the interest simply is to see if it's possible in the future to have department heads review this stuff so that they can possibly reuse things in one department that another department's throwing away.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, so this time we're going to go ahead and I'll entertain a motion to approve this with the understanding that you will do what you can. And we all understand the time constraints and so forth. Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the disposal list.
Motion to approve.
Second? I'll second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I think there were. Who was that? I didn't
Ava
recognize.
just
I
apparently.
didn't recognize that voice. It must have come from Pierre's household.
I think she cast 2 votes.
Oh, okay.
I would like to record an abstention.
1.5 votes. Okay, thank you very much, Nick.
Mr. Chair, did you get Zuby's abstention?
Hear it. Was that an
Yes, I'd like
abstention?
to record an abstention on that one.
Okay. Okay. And now we go to financial aid awards and recipients. Dr. Morimoto. Yash.
Hello. Sorry, let me make sure things are working. Okay, so it is my pleasure to report on the financial aid information that you guys have requested the last board meetings. Let me share my screen. And so in your packet is a report that our wonderful Anthony Ulibali has created for us. This is a dashboard report that is available to all SFCC employees. And you can see actually going back to 2005 when we first started having this data all the way up till now. And so you can see that the overall financial aid amount was highest in 2011-12 of the academic year when we had the height of our SFCC enrollment due to the financial crisis that happened a couple of years before that. And it has been steadily declining since then. Don't be concerned about the $1.5 million for this year because this is just the beginning. This data is as of the beginning of the semester. It's not done paying out. And really, it's not for the full year. So that's the reason why there's a big drop from the 6.9 million to 1.5 million. In terms of financial aid comparisons, looking at it where the money is coming from, you could see that there was it's been a decline in federal financial aid over the years, largely due to the decline in people filling out the FAFSA applications, actually, and our decline in enrollment, of course. So as more students, like many of our student enrollments happened is really dual credit students, senior citizens, and degree-seeking students, but because we have a higher percentage of part-time students, and many students are under the mistaken impression that they are not eligible for financial aid, there has been a decline in FAFSA completion, and that has impacted the amount of money we get from the federal financial aid. To address this issue, thankfully, Tomasino's team has proposed a financial aid FAFSA completion initiative in the strategic plan, and they're working hard on it, as Marcos has talked about it earlier. You could also look at the decline of loans. So you could see that, we had the highest number of dollar amount distributed really in 2011-12, but the largest percentage, not the largest percentage, almost half of that was really in the loan area. The amount we've been giving out in terms of student loans has been declining steadily over the years. And so this has also contributed to the decline in our loan default rate. Almost 10 years ago, we had a pretty high loan default rate. We even got a notice from the federal government, but we've had one of the lowest loan default rate, in part because students are choosing to take less loans, which is actually a really important thing. In terms of distribution of aid, who's it going to? By racial and ethnic backgrounds, you can see that persons of color receives the majority of aid. This is reflective of our overall enrollment, where 65% of our degree-seeking students are students of color. And in terms of gender distribution, you can see that more funding is going to female students than male students. That's also representative of the fact that 2/3 of our students are females compared to males. And then there was questions last time about the lottery scholarship, what does it look like? You can sort of see in the slides that we've had historically anywhere between 200 to 300 students receiving financial aid through the Lawyer Scholarship. Over the last several years, that numbers has declined dramatically because due to COVID, people are not choosing not to go to post-secondary institution after they graduate from high school. So you can sort of see that decline happening and impacting us there. The other questions we had was, what's the status of the Opportunity Scholarship? And you can see that over the last 2 years, that has been roughly around $300,000. So far, we have 420 applicants, which is about the same as last year's applicants, but we have only distributed $129,000 because the school year has not, even the semester has not really ended. So with that, I stand for any questions. We also have a dashboard, so if there's any questions on the fly, I'm happy to try to show that dashboard, and we could go through it together.
Josh, I'm having a little difficulty. Let's see. The colors on the charts I think I got it. It's just small print. Okay, I think I found it. I was having trouble with the color coding.
And I appreciate bringing up the color coding. That color is SFCC colors, but we may, now that I'm looking at it, I'm thinking we may want to change it, the color proportions for those who are out there who have color blindness. And so I'll just make sure that that's compliant there. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was just having trouble with the legend.
No, I understand. Okay, and the legend as well. Okay, we'll make it bigger next time.
It was just small. Yeah, any comments, questions for Yash?
Chair Gamble, I have questions about the Opportunity Scholarship. Yash, can you share what that application process looks like for students?
I am actually not familiar with the application process, so I'm hoping somebody else on the call could do that. I apologize. That's not in my area of expertise, so I don't want to get the wrong information. Marcos, by chance, do you know what the application process looks like? If not, I'm sure when Thomasina is back at the next board meeting, she could respond to that question.
Yeah, and I think it might even be helpful just to have a presentation from financial aid about what their observations are with the declining trends in FAFSA applications, and also what some of the potential barriers are with the Opportunity Scholarship. Because I am curious, if you have to apply for the Opportunity Scholarship, I think those of us who are in higher ed know a lot about it, but not everybody's going to know about it and is going to know to apply. So I'm just curious to understand better how the word is getting out and what the process looks like.
Sure. We'll definitely ask if Thomasina or her team could then give a presentation at the next board meeting.
Thank you.
Or if that's not convenient for December, it could be for January.
Mr. Chair, I can work with Audrey and we'll manage the agenda, but we should be able to have a fairly brief presentation on that. I don't know the answer to the questions. I'm very interested too.
Yeah, I guess I was also thinking that January maybe give it a little more time for registration, for the registration process. Yeah, but whatever seems to work. Any other comments or questions for Yash and about financial aid? What's going to happen with all that lottery scholarship money now that the Opportunity Scholarship is coming up. Okay, if no comments, we'll have an update on grants. More money.
Yep, and I'll be doing that presentation as well as Laura White was unable to make it today. In the audience, I believe we have Charlie and Steve here to answer any questions, but we basically have 4 grants that we're planning to apply for. One is Firstborn Brindle Early Childhood Initiative proposal for $22,000. Another is Kids Campus Bilingual Inclusion for Brindle Foundation, another $23,000. And then 2 NSF grants. One is an ATE Germain ATE, that's $349,000, and then almost $1 million grant for the Interregional Innovation Engines, RBEE. So we stand for questions there, if there's any.
Yeah, well, what are those? The first 2 are relatively self-explanatory. The last 2 are not.
Well, we got Steve and Charlie on the line. So Steve and Charlie, would you like to go into it?
Okay.
Steve, Charlie, we can't hear you. I saw your mouth moving, but. I still can't hear you, Charlie.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Steve,
Yes.
we can hear you.
I can cover both of them. So the ATE grant is to the ATE is what? Advanced Technical Education Program. It's a set aside for community colleges. Only community colleges can apply, or technical colleges can apply. This is the first year, the first pass grant, which is a 3-year, around $300,000, $330,000 proposal. It's to basically get you into the system, and then if you've successfully completed it, then you can apply later to become an ATE center, which is a big deal. And that's like millions of dollars.
What's an AT center?
The Advanced Technical Education Center, it's set up by the NSF to be sort of a regional center to take care of big problems. And this one is for generating a pipeline from the high schools into basically Charlie's program. It's looking at, we're going to take replicated aquaponics systems that you can buy commercially, put them in local high schools. During the summer, we'll bring the teachers over and have an intensive training program for the teachers. Then they will go back and teach basically the first 2 classes of the aquaponics program, or the controlled environment agriculture program, in their schools as dual credit. There will be a remote, the first year, the courses will be co-taught by the SFCC faculty and the high school teachers that have been trained. And then the second year, the high school teachers will take it on their own, and we'll bring in another cohort. So there's going to be 3 a year. So at the end, there'll have been 9 high schools throughout the state that will be brought into the controlled environment agriculture program. And we're looking at probably 180 students to go through the system. And then, so that's the model that we're using. And then the idea would be that, and we'd expand it all over the state that way. The other one, the NSFE Regional Innovation Engines, it's a new division within the NSF. And unlike other NSF programs where you write down your research plan, and then at the end you have your diversity statement and your workforce statement, these proposals are the other way around. It's big on your diversity statement and your workforce statement, and then you can have a little research at the end. There are 2 group 2 types in this. The type 1 are planning grants that are 2 years at $1 million. And they're designed to get your regional engine together for the big one, which is the type 2, which is 10 years, $160 million. We were asked, now the NSF had a caveat in this proposal that each institution could only be lead on one proposal. And so all the major universities had already picked their proposal, and I was asked by the vice president of research at UNM if we would, since he says, oh, you guys aren't lead on a proposal, would you want to be PI on this? And so I kind of said, oh, okay. And so we put together a proposal with University of Wyoming, Colorado State, New Mexico, UNM, New Mexico State, University of Arizona, University of Utah, and Cal Poly Pomona. And this is to be, as is a planning grant, there will be 6 regional meetings over the 2 years where at the 6 different sites, the principals, there's 18 PIs on this, will meet at each site. And then there's a big bunch of money to bring in the local communities, either tribal or food hubs and things like that. So the proposal on this one is using controlled environment agriculture to mitigate food deserts. During COVID, especially in many of the tribal communities, was put in their face very clearly that they don't have any food nearby. And so there's a lot of interest in growing food. And the research part of this will be done by Jingjik Wong at UNM. Maybe find out where's the low-hanging fruit to start working on these kinds of projects. Where's the community interest in backing it? So that's the research end of it. And we are going to be the lead for this program to set up the regional meetings to plan for the big one that we will have no part of, at least in terms of management. One of the big universities has to do that, but we will be in a position to be a big player in those. So
Wow.
Those are the 2 that came up.
Thank you, Steve.
Wonderful. Pretty fantastic. Working with 6 universities, and gosh, well, I guess when you get up to $160 million, you got to have some other people involved. Well, that sounds great.
Yeah, for the big ones, there's a requirement that you have to have a full-time CEO and staff on that. So
right, yeah. So will aquaponics be a part of what you will be doing here in this larger project?
There, I found my button. Controlled environment agriculture. Basically, aquaponics will be part of that, but it will also be just normal hydroponics and aquaculture. And the idea is to find out what's available and how to best make use of it. And so it may be that aquaponics doesn't happen in some place, but in other places it will.
Okay. Sounds great. Okay, any questions, comments for Charlie and Stephen? Any other questions about the 2 other grants, the Firstborn Grant and the Kids Campus Bilingual Grant? Okay. Any other questions for Yash? And if not, thank you very much, Yash. Thank you, Charlie and Steve. Okay. Let's move on to policy questions. First reading, none. Board reports, discussion, other business. Well, I'll just make the point again. I'd certainly like to have feedback from people on our September 16th meeting. So we can continue thinking about the future and thinking about areas that we believe are important and how things that we could be involved in doing and researching and thinking. Next board meeting. So we're not going to meet in November. We have a off month to share with turkeys and so forth. So our next meeting is going to be in December.
Mr. Chair, I think we have a couple of questions. Member Quintana and Cheryl has her hand up too.
Okay. Cheryl?
Thank you,
Cheryl?
Chair Gamble. I just
Yeah.
have a quick question. So when I have the brainstorm in the middle of the night about how to fix the entire world, you asked for comments about from the work session. To whom and how should I send those comments?
Well, you can transmit in whatever way works for you. An email would be great, and to me is fine. I love emails sent any time of day or night, as Becky well knows. Yeah, I mean that's if you have another preferred way, carrier pigeon or yeah, emails are fine. Thank you,
Thank you,
Cheryl.
Chair Gamble.
And who else had a comment?
I had an update, Chair Gamble,
Yes.
about my term on the foundation board. So there are 2 governing board representatives on the SFCC foundation board, and my
Right.
term ends in December.
Right.
I don't know that there's a requirement to have 2 board members, but if there is, we should look to be identifying another board member to serve in that role beginning in January.
Okay, good. I will put that on my to-do list. Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome.
Anything else anyone has? If not, I will entertain, by gosh, by golly, almost right on time. Can you believe that? Between 4:55 and 5 o'clock, it's actually only 4:52, but we will consider adjourning the meeting 3 minutes early. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Chair, I move to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we had a couple. I heard Jody's and Pierre's and mine. And that's good enough. I didn't hear anyone else. I didn't hear Linda's. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.